When I see those kind of titles, I think, oops, okay, smart person. It's nothing like that. Morning, doctor.
Morning. Thank you for
Thank
the
you very much. Yeah. Flu season is here, as people say, when we transition into winter, in autumn. Just start there. When is the right time to get a flu jab?
Well, usually the influenza season starts here May, June every year. So the best time is to go for your jab before the influenza season starts.
So March, April?
March, April would be the ideal time because your body takes about 2 weeks to actually build up the immunity you need against the influenza
At the beginning
virus.
of this month, some pharmacists didn't have the flu vaccine, but now some of them have got it. I know my wife went last weekend. She got a jab as well. So it's now available.
Yes, it's now available countrywide in most pharmacies, so you can just go to your local pharmacy and usually there's somebody that can give that vaccine to you as well.
Okay, myth number one, flu vaccine is for old people.
Well, the thing is, old people are in one of the risk categories for severe influenza infection, so definitely they should be getting it. But flu vaccine is actually for anybody that wants to protect themselves against the influenza virus. Doesn't matter how old you are.
When you have flu, can you take the vaccine? When you are now sick, they says, oh, you've got flu. Can you go and take a flu jab?
Usually it's best to wait until that illness that you have at that point in time is passed and then to go for your influenza vaccine. That's usually the best.
So don't do it while you've got flu, basically.
While you're sick. I mean, a lot of people call it flu, but they're not always sure, is it influenza causing the disease that they have, or is there other respiratory viruses that's actually causing what they're having? So many people refer to illnesses that they have as having flu, but it's actually not always influenza virus. It might be another respiratory virus also that they might be having at that point in time.
Myth number two, does a flu vaccine cause flu?
No, it's absolutely impossible. A lot of people have this sort of misconception, but the vaccine that we have in South Africa is an inactivated, which means it's a killed vaccine. It only has parts of the influenza virus. It doesn't have a live virus at all. So it's absolutely impossible that you can get influenza from the influenza vaccine.
Why should we do it every year?
The thing is, the influenza virus is a very interesting virus. It keeps on changing itself from year to year. So it has what they call mutations. So it changes every year, little bit by little bit. So the WHO has a big program globally where they look at the strains that are circulating, and then every year they predict sort of what is going to be in your area, which influenza virus is going to be in your region, and then the vaccine is made according to that surveillance program that they have. So you have to vaccinate every year because the strains that have circulated last year might not be the strains that's circulating this year.
So it's possible you can get a flu vaccine and get sick and get flu after the flu vaccine.
What specifically do you mean?
No, I mean you've got the flu jab?
Yeah.
Let's say in March, April?
Yes,
and
sure.
then come winter you get flu. Is it possible?
It is possible because remember there's no vaccine that's 100% effective. The influenza vaccine is about 60% effective. So it means you can still get influenza sometimes because your immune system might not have mounted a good immune response. The other thing is because this vaccine is made on the prediction of what's going to circulate in the area, it might be that there's another virus that is an influenza
develops
virus
in the intervening
exactly,
period. Okay.
That you get exposed to. So the vaccine, they call it a mismatch. There might be a mismatch between the vaccine that you got and the actual virus that is in the region at that point in time. So
now,
it is possible.
Supposing there was that scenario,
yes.
Can you go back now with the upgraded vaccine and take a second one?
The thing is, it usually takes quite a while to manufacture these vaccines.
Okay.
So the WHO already announces in September the previous year which vaccine should the people be making for our winter that's now. So there's a process that takes months to develop the vaccine because it's grown in eggs. So it takes time.
You get a guarantee of about 60% from 60%. Those strains that
yes.
are in the existing vaccine.
Exactly.
There's a possibility there could be new strains
exactly.
in the intervening period,
exactly.
which might affect you, depending on many factors, including
yes.
how strong your immune system is.
Exactly. That's correct.
How young must a child be or a baby be to get a flu vaccine?
The minimum age is 6 months onwards. So
6 months
yes,
onwards.
so babies from 6 months of age can get the influenza vaccine safely. It's not for babies less than 6 months of age because there's no data, no studies to look at the safety in that age group.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of talk around winter
yes.
about getting the flu vaccine and
yes.
then supplements that will help you. And people talk about vitamin C.
Yeah.
Does vitamin C make a flu vaccine more effective or not?
Well, I don't think the jury is really out on it. There's no harm in taking your extra vitamins and trying to boost your immune system as much as you can, but I don't think there's any hard and fast data that it makes a huge difference. So sure, do take your vitamins, but it's not to say that it's going to keep the influenza at bay.
Yeah. The influenza can be tested for, I guess.
Yes, it
people
can.
like Empath Laboratory, you guys do those tests.
Yes.
But sometimes people get a normal cold and then they're clogged up and stuff,
Yes.
and then say, I've got flu.
Yes.
So what are the symptoms generally of a genuine flu?
Of a genuine influenza, it's much more severe than just having a cold. So you will have the symptoms like the nasal congestion, the sore throat, but it usually goes with a big systemic component, which is your body having body aches, sore muscles, sore joints, fever. So it's a much more generalized thing. It's not just up here above the neck, I almost want to see, where it's just your nose and your throat. It's really your whole body, and you really feel very, very tired, and you want to stay in bed. And it usually takes a couple of days to recover, at least a week, usually. So it's much more severe than just your common cold.
Yeah. Is there a category of people who must not take the flu vaccine?
Well,
or under what conditions would you advise to say, no, if you have these possible conditions, stay away from a flu vaccine?
Yeah, there are contraindications. The contraindications are, like we've already discussed, babies less than 6 months of age, because that's not a tested group. And then people that have had severe allergic reactions, including to egg protein in the vaccine. So if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the influenza vaccine before, you wouldn't necessarily risk it again. And then your third group is if you've had an illness where there was fever and you were sick, just wait for that to pass, and then you can get your flu vaccine.
Have you had your jab yet?
I've had it, definitely, and my whole family has had it as well.
I'm going to go for mine. You've convinced me now.
Oh,
I used to
thank
have
you.
it every year until about 3 years ago, and I thought, I'm fine,
Yeah.
And then my wife went this last weekend. She's been doing it every year. I don't know for how long.
Yeah.
And now you've convinced me, and she was scolding me and said, you must go and get your flu jab. So I'm going to go and do one now.
Very good advice from your wife, definitely.
Thank you very much,
That
Doctor.
is a pleasure.
Dr. Marcel Mybeck, a clinical virologist at Empath Laboratories. Go and get your flu jab.